Hello, this is Darkstar, Enslaver of Equestria, and this is my next character analysis video, Team Nemesis! Yes, the evilness of Team Nemesis has finally unleashed me, the dark side of BlueStar upon Equestria! So, former BlueStar fans, I have turned your beloved BlueStar into a plushie! Yeah! I always knew that pony was soft, but now that I have his caster, I shall use it to develop an even more powerful one, and then I will take over the world! Yes! How do you turn this thing on? Or maybe if I push both of these together. Uh-oh. Well, I'm glad that's over with. That was weird. But then, of course, in some ways, it's kind of fitting because with all three of the evil Nemesises teaming up into what I have dubbed Team Nemesis, definitely strange things will happen. Normally, these villains would never work together, but this is what has made this so interesting because this is the first time that any of the supervillains have really teamed up together, with the exception of perhaps when Discord and Terik teamed up. This is really the first time that these kinds of villains have ever really worked together in the show because it's like normally it's like, no, I'm more powerful than you, no, I don't need you. But with basically Grokar forcing them to work together, it's like, or else. They have little choice. But yeah, so this is why I've decided to do this video, which is going to be a combination of character analysis, afterthought review, and team analysis of what I have dubbed Team Nemesis. Because they're both the Nemesises of the main six and each other. So it's going to be a little bit of a character analysis of each of the characters, and then sort of what is their role within Team Nemesis, because that's also what's interesting about this, is that I almost feel like this is like the perfect team. They're not just simply all one thing, like they're not just all ridiculously powerful, all smart. They all bring something different to the team, which is definitely very valuable for a team. But first, I kind of almost want to start off their similarities, because they do have a couple things in common, besides the fact that they're all evil. They're all cunning, they're all smart. None of these characters are dumb. And they're all capable of coming up with deceitful, cunning plans and manipulating ponies and other creatures to do their will, although in various degrees of success. But I would say that all three of these supervillains were at some point in the past successful in manipulating at least one character to do what they wanted them to do. So that's basically the one thing that they have in common. So this makes establishing what is Terik's role a little bit more difficult, because my first thoughts on Terik are, first, A, he's the brains, and he's also the brawn. He's definitely the brawn, both in magic and physical power. If you need something blown up or beaten up, you call it Terik. But at the same time, he's also very cunning and smart, because when we first see him, he has practically no power whatsoever, and he's not really that big of a threat. He's only a threat because he basically was able to manipulate Discord into working with him, and then all of a sudden, okay, we could have handled Terik by ourselves, but now that he's working with Discord, it's like, oh no, we can't handle both of them at the same time. So Terik in a way has the brains and the brawn, so it makes that kind of hard, because like, what does all the other ponies have? He's got everything. But not necessarily. I think the short answer is Team Nemesis takes turns being the brains and being in charge, because I think in some ways there'd be no other alternative. It's like, obviously, no, I want to be in charge, no, I want to be in charge. It's like they either have to have a leader and say, you're always going to be in charge, or they gotta take turns from time to time, because otherwise they're just going to keep fighting for who's going to be in charge. Ignoring the brain side, he's definitely the brawn. Even just in size, is the biggest, the most powerful in terms of brute strength and magic strength, definitely the brawn. But at the same time, he also does have the ability to be the brains, very much so. Oh, Grokar is right. There's no way that we're actually going to make it up this mountain by ourselves. We have to work together. So I'm just going to chill out my camp here and wait for them to realize that. So, and then I'm going to get them to tell me what they encountered so that I don't have to endure the elements. I'm going to let them do it for me. That's so underhanded and sneaky. And very, very smart. From a character analysis side, Terik, at first to me, was not very interesting. He almost felt like pure threat. It's like he just wants to take all the magic from everybody. In terms of character, not very original, very interesting. It's just power, power. But I like this twist that they've given him now, which is that Yeah, he wants power, but but now that he's had a taste of power, all he wants now is just to get that back. He's literally had all the magic of Equestria flowing through him, and he just wants to be big and giant and powerful again. And that, I think, is an interesting motivation. It's like he's trying to get back something that he's lost. He's not trying to gain more. He's trying to get something that he's already lost back again, which I think is somehow more relatable and more understandable, and I feel for him on that one. That somehow feels more than just simply, I want to take over the world. It's like, no, I've had a taste of true power and I want it back. So then moving on to Chrysalis. And this was interesting because this was the first time we've specifically seen Chrysalis using her changeling powers to do something other than like deceive ponies. She's using them to overcome these obstacles, and I thought that was very clever. I don't think we've really seen that from the changelings all that often. They'll change into something for temporarily or something, but they won't usually, I'll change into this to deal with this problem, change into that to deal with that problem. So that's interesting. And I was also thinking, what are the rules of how does that work? Like, for example, do they just simply look like this creature, or do they actually become it? I think the thing with the giant crocodile shows that she doesn't look like this giant crocodile. She's become this giant crocodile because she's able to physically break through the ice when she herself couldn't break through the ice. So it's not like they throw up a hologram and they just appear to be this creature. They do become that creature. In some ways, that feels a little OP, because it feels like, well, during Cancellot Winning, couldn't they have all, like, taken the appearance of a dragon and just, like, wiped the floor with everybody? Oh no! Chrysalis, definitely, once again, they all take turns being the mastermind, but I think she's a little bit more mastermindy and more backstabby than the others, but which is why she's like, betrayal! Because it's what she probably would have done. I do feel bad for Chrysalis because she's talking to the log, which appears to be Twilight's log from the Mean Six, which is really creepy and doesn't really make any sense, because the last thing that evil Twilight was trying to do was blast Chrysalis into a pulp. I would probably have kicked that log 50 yards downfield rather than talk to it, but maybe even though evil Twilight did betray her and try to murder her, that maybe she felt some sort of connection to evil Twilight, and maybe because she's just really, really lonely, because it's like she's lost her entire hive and she's really sad. I do feel for Chrysalis. She's really lost so much. Even her title as queen has kind of been taken away from her. It's difficult to be considered a queen when you don't even have any subjects. And just like with Terik, it's like, yeah, she's trying to get back the thing that she's lost, but also from the song, what she really wants the most is to get her revenge upon Starlight Glimmer. She's like, no one can touch Starlight Glimmer, she's mine. That may be a sign of confrontation in the future. It's like, you can't hurt Starlight Glimmer, she's mine. Chrysalis's role in Team Nemesis is a little bit more deceptive and a little bit more jack of all trades, you know, because she can turn into so many things. It's like, oh, you need to move this giant log, not a problem. And she definitely is a little bit more cunning and deceitful, and like, you know, how she handled the ox snake was interesting, but somehow creepy. It's like, poor guy. He was hoping for love, but he ended up being lunch. Poor guy. I'm sure he'll be okay. Eventually. I must say, I'm not really sure if this is love. It could be another word that starts with L. But it was interesting to see how she manipulated the ox snake. It's like, hi there, big boy. Her role is surprising, but I kind of like it. It is interesting to see how she can use changing her form to solve particular problems at particular times, and I think that's interesting. So, yo. Now, moving on to Cozy Globe, who is really creepy and scary. I didn't know that a child could be so scary. One moment she's cute and nice, and the next it's like, who doesn't like a good backstabbing? I am cute and lovable! No, you're not. You're scary and mean and... Character analysis-wise, it's kind of interesting because she gets all mad when it's like, no, you're supposed to do what I tell you to do. It's acting very childish, which is very appropriate because, well, she's a child. So, yo. Having said all that, I almost like to think of her as like the daughter of Darth Sidious, because she has this cunning, manipulative thing that she totally knows how to manipulate people to do what she wants them to do, and often by being like cute and helpless. It's like a poor defenseless little pony. It's like, please help me. But then she'll stab you in the back. A big thing with her, she doesn't have any powers at all. She definitely is not the brawn on this team. She neither has the size nor the magic or physical power. She's a child. Her only power is that she can fly, but so can Chrysalis, so that's not really that big of a deal. So her greatest weapon is her cunning and her manipulativeness, and that she doesn't need any fancy powers because she has the ability to manipulate ponies and characters to do what she wants them to do of their own free will. Just like Darth Sidious, one of the greatest supervillains ever, because yeah, he's got all these crazy powers, but in order to get people to do what he wants, he doesn't need them. He knows how to manipulate the passions and the prejudices and the desires of all these other characters, so in the end they do what he wants and they don't even realize that they're doing it. That's Cozy Glow's power, because otherwise, yeah, she's this little itty-bitty child that you wouldn't think is a threat, wouldn't be a big deal, but of course, she is. Underestimate her at your own peril. At the same time, I'm very glad that Rusty Bucket didn't fall for this. That he realized that, you know, a real friend wouldn't ask me to do something I'm not supposed to do, and that he basically was not deceived. Because sometimes this doesn't work. It's like she's trying to get this pony to do something that he basically is supposed to not do. So at that moment, all she can do is just throw a temper tantrum and go, yeah! So that's the moment where that gets a little difficult, and that problem was solved by brute force later on. You ever just think with Cozy Glow, she's also kind of like the evil Twilight. She's almost like the anti-Twilight. Like, Twilight is trying to spread the magic of friendship all over Equestria for the benefit of every pony. She's trying to use friendship for her own benefit. She knows how to use friendship and these kind of things to manipulate other ponies, again, to do what she ultimately wants them to do, and for her own advantages. Her role in Team Nemesis is definitely manipulator and, like, you know, trying to get other ponies and characters to do what she wants them to do, because nobody would think that she's a supervillain. She's just a cute little harmless kid, you know? What could go wrong? That's exactly how she'll get you. Also, her small size ironically comes in handy from time to time. So Terik's horror, being huge and massive, does have its drawbacks. Sometimes being a tiny cute little pony can actually be useful from time to time, so yo. So if there's ever a small space that the rest of Team Nemesis can't get through, Cozy Glow will be able to handle it, so yes. It definitely was interesting to see Team Nemesis coming together, and ironically, having these three supervillains teaming up together and learning that teamwork is actually worthwhile might have backfired on Grogar, because they realize we really are more powerful as a team. But unfortunately for you, Grogar, you're not on our team. We're gonna stab you in the back, so watch out. But at the same time, I have a suspicion that Grogar already knows this. I know they're gonna try to turn against me, but I still need them to work together, because otherwise there's no way they're gonna defeat the main six. And again, it's like he's realized that, you know what, even he can't defeat the main six by themselves. No one can. He needs a team. He needs Team Nemesis to help him ultimately defeat the main six. So for now, he's gonna probably tolerate this behavior, but I'm sure at some point it's gonna be like, did you really think that you could betray me? But it was still cool seeing Team Nemesis coming together, and even seeing the magic of friendship maybe taking hold for a tiny little instant until Chrysalis said, no! But yeah, Team Nemesis is definitely gonna be a serious threat, not only to the main six, but probably Grogar too. Until he pins them to the wall again. But even so, I definitely enjoyed watching Team Nemesis coming together, and it was just so weird watching them just sort of hanging out around the campfire. But it was interesting to see them all just like talking to each other as supervillains. It's like, oh, I almost got Twilight by, you know, turning Discord against them. Oh, yeah, Discord was something back then. It was kind of weird. It's like, I don't know whose side I'm on. I should be sad, but I did enjoy watching Team Nemesis just coming together. Be interesting to see who betrays who. Will it be Grogar, the Team Nemesis, or members within Team Nemesis? We shall see. Don't worry, the magic of friendship will definitely prevail over evil. Roar! So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong and pony on. Blue Star out.